This is a tutorial and training session for functional range conditioning, PAILs and rails of the shoulder extension. PAILs and rails stands for progressive and regressive angular isometric loading. In the functional range system, we use PAILs and rails to achieve three objectives. The first is to increase range of motion or expand space within a joint. The second objective is to gain access and control of our end ranges of motion. The third objective is to improve the health and quality of the connective tissue involved in that specific joint, ligament, tendon, or muscle. So what is shoulder extension? If I turn to the side here, shoulder extension is a linear movement of the arm back behind us and up to the ceiling as far as we can go. So that is extension. Flexion is the opposite. It is up and forward in this direction. So flexion up, extension back and up. There are a few different setups we can use for our PAILs and rails training of shoulder extension, so let's get into those now. The first setup I'll show you involves using a dowel rod, mobility stick, or even an upright of a squat rack. What we're going to do here, if I turn to the side, is I'm going to take my arm and my shoulder into extension by walking forward away from this pole. I'm then going to pull into my active shoulder extension by sliding my arm up in this direction. Now what I don't want to do is tip forward. I want to lean back so that I'm at my maximum extension. I'm grabbing and grasping upon the pole this way, and I've got my palm facing with the thumb downward this way. So this position is good because I've got a good firm thing to grab onto here so that I can apply PAILs and rails into this shoulder extension position. All right, so that's the first setup. Let's get into the second setup. The other setup that I'll show you is good for doing at home. What I have here is a mobility strap that you can get on Amazon. The company is called Trideer, Trideer, and these are about $5, so very inexpensive. What's nice about this is that it is non-elastic, so it does not stretch, which is good for PAILs and rails, and it also has handholds woven in at varying lengths into the strap here. So what I've done is I've tied a knot at the end of the strap, and I've placed it over the top of the door and then closed the door completely so that when I pull on this, it doesn't move. The setup for this is I'm going to reach my arm up into the strap like this, and I'm going to walk forward until I'm in shoulder extension. Now again, if I want to get more into extension, I can lean my chest back this way to get into my end range of extension there. So this is a nice setup, and I use these straps for a lot of different PAILs and rails setups, so these are nice to have for a very inexpensive mobility tool. All right, let's get into the training session. So let's get into our PAILs and rails training session for shoulder extension. When you do your PAILs contractions, your progressive angular isometrics, you're going to be pulling the arm from extension back into flexion. So if you're using the strap in the doorway, you're going to be pulling upon the strap this way. In my case, I'm going to be using the dowel rod, so I'm going to be driving my hand and arm down into the rod, trying to push that rod into the ground. Your rails, you're going to try to pull deeper into extension this way. So in this case, I'm going to try to lift the rod up away from the ground. If you're on the strap, think about trying to get tension away from the strap, kind of pulling and slackening the strap back behind you. So let's get into our 60-second stretch here. I've got the pole back behind me. I'm going to bring my arm close to my side and start to reach up into extension to get into my stretch here. As I stretch further, I can either bring my chest back this way, or I can try to slide the hand further up the pole. And again, I've got my thumb down that way on the pole. So 60 seconds of stretching here. Deep breathing, trying to get further into that stretch. So we do at minimum a 60-second stretch, but if you have 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that's better. Keep a firm grasp on your strap or the pole here. Don't let the hand slide down. And we'll get into our PAILs and rails contractions. When you do these, use anywhere from 20 to 80% effort in contraction. So if you're just learning how to do this, you can start low on the effort and intensity scale and eventually work your way up into a higher level of contraction and intensity. So let's take a deep breath in. Trap some tension in the core. Apply your PAILs. Try to drive that arm out of extension and back into flexion. So I'm pushing this pull down into the ground. Pushing pretty firm for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My rails, I'm going to try to slide this hand further up, holding like I'm trying to lift this pole up away from the ground, holding it up. 3, 2, 1. Re-grasping on the pole. Deep breath in. Apply your progressive angular isometrics. Try to drive down out of that position. You're trying to pull your arm back down to the floor. Push firm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift that arm up further into extension. Pull it up to the ceiling behind you. Squeeze the muscles on the back of the shoulder. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Re-grasp on the pole. Deep breath in. Pack down the abs, core tension, everything tight. Apply your PAILs. Drive the arm down out of there. Squeeze firm. Pull hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the arm further back up behind you. Good. Squeeze it up to the ceiling. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Re-grasp the strap or the pole. Apply your PAILs. Core tight. Drive that pull down. Pull down into the strap. Pull hard. Squeeze firm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Lift up and back behind you. Not likely to get that much higher up for 3, 2, 1. Re-grasp the pole or the strap. Let's apply our last PAILs. Deep breath in. Core tight, everything firm. Drive down into the pole or the strap. Squeeze hard, ramp it up. Push hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last rails. Lift up back behind you. Actively pull that arm to the ceiling. Squeeze hard. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Let it slide back down. Come out of that stretch position there. If this is your first time training PAILs and rails for any tissue, in this case shoulder extension, expect it to make you a little bit sore. That is not unusual, as we're taking joints to new end ranges of motion and tissues to new lengths of stretch that maybe they've never been to and maybe they've never even trained at. So this makes you a little bit sore. That's okay. Don't be put off by that. It is a worthy trade-off to make the changes that PAILs and rails give you. So this is a tutorial and training session for functional range conditioning, PAILs and rails of the shoulder joint extension. Hope you enjoyed it.